Today, I'm going to be talking to you about this deal right here behind me. This is the deal from hell. Why is this the deal from hell? Well, I've got another video telling you all about that. This video is going to be 5 lessons in 5 minutes that I learned from my experience in the deal from hell. Lesson number 1, buy out your prices. And what I mean by that means if I'm building these canopies right here and I've got a contract for $900,000 for all the metal required, if I have gotten a bid but I haven't yet signed a contract in order that, I have not yet bought out that piece of the project. Now what happened is we went into that lockdown, prices went way up, and so my budget got way out of whack. The prices on my buildings actually rose like $50,000, $60,000. Didn't get anything extra, prices just went up because I had not yet bought them out. What was I waiting on? Well, I was waiting on the approvals, which the government revoked for me. My first lesson, if you have not yet bought out, whether it's a material, a job to be done, whether it's labor, whatever it is, plan on it being at least 10% more expensive than what you've got budgeted. Lesson number 2, communicate with your banker often. So whenever that time period happened and I got my approvals revoked, I couldn't just go start building. I had to solve the issue. So I immediately told my bankers, hey, we've got this issue. I know we bought this with approvals. They just took those away. I'm gonna keep you posted on what's gonna happen. So then I had to go get an attorney and I had to sue the local government in order to get my approvals back. The pandemic happened, and during that process, well, my project didn't make any progress. Well, I got an interest-only loan, so I was only paying interest on the loan during the construction process, which is pretty common in construction loans, and I had 12 months of it. I thought, no problem, I'll definitely be done building in 12 months. Fast forward 12 months, I hadn't even started building because of, again, the revoking of the approval process. So I told my bank, and they extended an additional 12 months of interest only for me. Might not sound like a lot, but we were paying $6,000, $7,000 a month in interest when we should have been paying $18,000 a month on an amortizing loan once it flipped over. Now, if I'd waited until I was in deep waters, as we call it, then guess what? Then my bank probably wouldn't have been as understanding. So keeping them posted through the whole process, communicate with them, is lesson number 2. Lesson number 3, always talk to the local fire department before you start your project. The NFPA, or whatever the codes are, did not match up, and they had some gray areas in our project, and that's what really tripped us up, and we had to work through it. We got this back and forth with the local fire chief. He wanted to prove us right. We didn't want to pay because what he wanted us to do was put sprinkler systems in all of these canopies, which why would you put a sprinkler system in an open canopy that doesn't have any walls and it's all metal? Didn't make a lot of sense to me, so I really pushed back on that. It was also $300,000, right? Another cost I didn't have in the budget. We went back and forth, and eventually I just drove down to the fire station and I walked in and I said, hey, fire chief, let's see how we can work this issue out. And that immediately changed his tone, and we went from being foes to being, okay, hey, you're a real person trying to get this done. Let's talk about it. Now, what I've learned on my other projects is go have that conversation with the local fire chief, build a relationship with them before you actually buy the property so you know what their standards are and you guys can be on the same team the whole time. Lesson number 4, be prepared to spend money that doesn't make any sense. At the entrance of this property right here, there was a chain link fence. All of us know what a chain link fence is. You can see right through it. 20 feet to the left of it, as the chain link fence continues over, there's more chain link fence, and chain link fence goes all the way around the property. Well, the government didn't want to accept my chain link fence. I don't know why. They wanted me to put in a decorative PVC fence, which when the wind blows, my PVC fence flies everywhere. It makes no sense, and I've had to spend money to repair it. What kind of world is this that I'm living in where the chain link fence, which works great, keeps people out, sure, it's not the most beautiful, but doesn't blow over when the wind comes through? What sense does it make to rip that out and put in a decorative PVC fence? And at the end of the day, what I've learned and what I've come to accept is I've got to be willing as a developer to spend money that doesn't make any sense to me just to make the government happy. Doesn't seem right, doesn't really seem fair, but at the end of the day, you have to be willing to spend money to meet the local government codes that don't make any sense in some cases. Some cases they do, some cases they don't. You have to be willing to spend that money in order to get the approval. I kind of just ignored them for a period of time, and eventually they started finding me and said, hey, we're not going to issue your permits on your building. So I ended up putting it in. And lesson number 5, one of my big ones, don't be cheap when it comes to hiring a civil engineer. If you're doing a construction project that requires government approvals, you'll likely need what's called a site plan. A site plan is essentially like the blueprints, but for an entire property, not just a building. Most of the time, these are done by a civil engineer and they require you to submit it to the local government. Well, I luckily was not cheap, and my civil engineer is a guy who saved my ass through this entire project because I paid him a lot of money, but he ended up saving me a lot of money, having relationships, and driving my project to the finish line. So if you're looking between two different civil engineers and one is $200 an hour and one is $400 an hour, I think that it's gonna end up costing you less in the overall project to spend $400 an hour because that guy or girl has the connections, they know how to get things approved, they have a good relationship with the city or the county. It is always worth spending money on a good civil engineer because they will save you money in the long run. Let me know in the comments what you're hoping to learn from your first development project, or if you've already done your first one, what you've already learned. Be great.